With Lagiacrus returning to Monster Hunter, I figured it was time for another video talking about the series. Today, we are placing the mighty Lagiacrus into the world of Subnautica to find out if the electric Leviathan could dominate a world filled with Leviathans. Let's find out. So first, this is, just the obligatory. Lagiacrus will be able to breathe, eat, etc., and just function in general, despite Subnautica taking place on an alien world. Otherwise, this won't be any fun. So, ecologically, Lagiacrus functions as both as a semi-aquatic ambush predator, using both great size and electric powers to subdue his victims, whether it be terrestrial herbivores or aquatic carnivores alike. Known prey of Lagiacrus in its main ecosystem include fish, lobsters, kelpie, aptonoth, of course, and epioth. So as we can see, it will also take small things, and being semi-aquatic, it can also come out onto land to hunt for prey in areas like the jungle and Ruin Ridge in the Old World, also indulging in prey like Velocidrome, Bulldrome, and Arzuros. They're mentioned to sit basically at the top of the food chain, excluding elder dragons, with only really the likes of the Wraths keeping them in check. Even other super beasts like Plesioth are terrified of Lagiacrus. Its only natural predator, to our knowledge, is Nakargos, a powerful squid-like elder dragon, and as we've covered in previous Monster Hunter videos, the Elder Dragons sit in their own power class, meaning it's really no shame on Lagiacrus for being killed by an Elder. Subnautica is one of the best exploration games ever made, don't at me, don't even try. Taking place on the alien world of 4546b, this world is almost entirely comprised of oceans. While there is an Arctic region, where Below Zero takes place, Lagiacrus doesn't really seem the type to go into frozen seas.
Well, this sucks.
So, we'll be sticking to the bestiary of the base game. As we mentioned before, Lagiacrus can handle a wide range of environments, from terrestrial jungles to the deep sea. This means that for the most part, environments aren't really going to be much of an issue. It can light its way with its own electricity in the darker areas and biozones. For Lagiacrus, most creatures within the normal biozones are potential prey, with some of the most likely targets including stalkers, crab squids, bone sharks, ampeels, lava lizards, and other big game animals, with small fry like peepers and bladderfish being potential snacks. And we don't really know if Lagiacrus really goes into caves, so while there are things he can feed on there, it's unknown if he would really go down there. He does dive into the deep sea in general, but that's not quite the same thing. While he could easily tear gasopods limb from limb, their acid would probably deter him enough as, well, having acid and poisonous gas on its food probably isn't super appealing. Small snacks, if you should desire, would include mesmers, river prowlers, lava larvae, peepers, and bladderfish. So Lagiacrus has quite a few options when it comes to what to eat for dinner, quite a lot larger than most of the basic fauna. However, being at that size suggests that Lagiacrus's main competition would be the largest predators on the planet, the Leviathans. Now, something well known about Subnautica's Leviathans is that they're quite large. Lagiacrus is no slouch, being 20 to 30 meters long, but even compared to the Reaper Leviathans, he's looking a little on the smaller side. While when it comes to fiction, size is not much of a relevant factor when it comes to who would win in a fight, given the fact that these are animals, not death monsters. One could make the argument that the 55-meter Reapers, 60 to 100-meter Ghost, 112-meter Sea Dragon, etc., that Lagiacrus would simply just run away rather than try to fight them. However, I think people would then be very quick to remind that Monster Hunter's monsters are extremely fucking aggressive, to the point that they will take on and challenge creatures much bigger and stronger than themselves. with Lagiacrus being known to challenge even Rathalos, who has damn near every advantage against it in combat. So let's talk about Lagiacrus' matchups. Despite only bringing up the predators before, there are a couple Leviathans that aren't aggressive and are kind of helpless in combat, that being the Sea Treader and the Reefback. Despite being so much larger than Lagiacrus, these are slow, passive, and pretty much can't do anything back to it if it decides to attack them. He could just chip away at them with melee attacks, or alternatively, he could use his electricity to zap them and try to kill them. Those are the easiest to deal with. Reaper Leviathans, despite their great size, are nowhere near invincible. For one, they are much slower than Lagiacrus is. This speed and electric attacks should be able to work around the Reaper, which can only really attack with its appendages and jaws. So I actually think Lagiacrus has a pretty good shot of winning. Ghost Leviathans are bigger, but also much less capable of damage. Juveniles don't really have anything to show that they can actually compete with Lagiacrus in power, speed, and worst of all, have no defense against the electric powers. Adults, however, are much bigger and have much greater feats of physical strength, being able to completely bully Reapers from the ecological dead zone. Still though, it's not an impossible victory, as ghosts are very slow and have limited attack options. Lagiacrus is fast, maneuverable, intelligent, and again has electric powers. The most dangerous threat, however, is the Sea Dragon, and their elder form, the Sea Emperor. The Sea Dragon, from any perspective that ignores how strong creatures actually are, is simply too big and dangerous for Lagiacrus to defeat. Now, if we remove this stupidity and talk about how strong the creatures actually are, then things are still quite interesting. Reapers don't really have much for great strength. Their best feats are being able to crush a submarine and generating small building level energy, which isn't bad by any means, but they really don't stand a chance with that in mind. If we recall from previous entries in the channel, Lagiacrus literally shattered stones with so much force casually that it generated between 4.6 and 6.7 tons of TNT equivalent. And there's in fact an even higher end version of that would be even stronger. New information from Wilds also makes Lagiacrus' strength pretty consistent. His cutscene shows him absolutely tanking attacks from Rathalos, including a tail whip and 2 fireballs. The same fireballs that easily one-shot Anjanath and destroyed a large stone pillar to beat a Tigrex. Yet, here's Lagiacrus taking them with no issue whatsoever. And this time, Lagiacrus wins the turf war, taking the kill. To be fair to Rathalos though, their turf war can go either way, with Lagiacrus using his electric powers to win his version, whereas Rathalos kinda just flies up and slams him, showing that these two are pretty relative. Wilds also goes on to show that Lagiacrus can easily use electric powers against bigger monsters than himself, like Unthuduna, which will be useful in dealing with Leviathans twice or 3 times his size. His electric attacks have also gotten a pretty big upgrade in their radius, easily spanning over a dozen times his own body length, meaning he can in fact encompass a full Reaper, Ghost, Sea Dragon, or really any of the giant predators from 456B with his attacks. His speed being such that he would outspeed most of Subnautica's predators is also confirmed, as he can go toe-to-toe with Rathalos in close quarters combat, the same Rathalos who can casually fly over the speed of sound in really just every cutscene he has, even old gen ones. The Sea Dragon can fire his, fireballs at close to the speed of sound, which is incredibly impressive, but still a good bit slower than Lagiacrus. So it seems, especially now, that with his assorted feats of strength, durability, electric prowess, and adaptability. So obviously, being hundreds of times stronger than a Reaper Leviathan, Lagiacrus wins, especially with the previous speed edge. Moving back up the food chain, the Ghost Leviathan is actually quite a bit stronger. Adults of the species are comfortably within the building level strength range, giving them more defense against Lagiacrus' attacks. That said, however, he still outclasses them by basically an order of magnitude, so seems pretty impossible for them to win that fight. There is a potential argument for higher, but that involves things that we'll get into soon. Once more, Reefbacks, Sea Treaders, those kind of things, they don't really do anything. Still though, Lagiacrus marches on. The Sea Dragon presents the most interesting challenge thus far. Sea Dragons were able to completely destroy a precursor base, which are made of some of the strongest metals in the entire universe, stated to be completely beyond that of human capability, and humans not really even knowing how to damage the damn thing. With that included, it's even more notable because the one that the dragon took down was actually specifically made more durable, and yet he tore it apart with ease. There's also a pretty good argument that it's stronger than things like the Ice Worm, which have city block level calculations. The speed of its fire blasts are actually within the sub to supersonic ranges, meaning it would actually be capable of tagging the Lagiacrus in battle. So, since the Sea Dragon actually has a strength advantage and isn't too much slower, I think this fight could go either way. With how feisty and aggressive Lagiacrus is, he could probably scare the Sea Dragon into making him back off, and alternatively with how large and powerful the Sea Dragon is, the Lagiacrus might decide that there are some fights not worth having. So, overall, can Lagiacrus survive in Subnautica? Yes, actually. He'd be one of the top predators, and few things would be able to defeat him. What if we went back further in time? The game shows you quite a few interesting fossils, such as the ancient skeleton, a gigantic shelled creature that would probably be building tier by simply existing. But of course, every fan of Subnautica is going to bring up the gigantic fossil, a juvenile creature of a species dubbed the Gargantuan Leviathan, the largest creature to have ever existed on this planet, the ultimate apex predator, a creature that might have stretched well over a mile long. The fossil in the Lost River is over 402 meters long, and it's estimated to be about a third of the creature's size, meaning that in life it would have been over a kilometer long. This means that at a bare minimum, the Gargantuan Leviathan would generate 340 tons of TNT, or multi-city block level, or, depending on if he was quite a speedster, like other creatures within the series, all the way up to 520 kilotons of TNT, meaning a ram from the Gargantuan Leviathan would hit with the force of nuclear bombs. Yeah, Lagiacrus is not winning that fight. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Drop your suggestions for monsters, creatures, survival scenarios, versus fights, etc. in the comments below.